Hello, Marker 101 class participants. Hello, everybody. Just bear with me one moment. I have to go into a special place to pull up the video because since this video is unlisted, I have to go into a special spot so I can view it because this video isn't available for everybody. It's just for you guys that are in the class. So hello, everybody. Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to class. You're all on time, which I love. Hello, everyone. Hold on one moment. I'm going to plug my phone in so I can make sure that we don't run out of power because we have lots to talk about this evening. We have so much to talk about. This is one of my absolute favorite classes to teach because I love talking about alcohol markers. I love talking about how... Hi, a moment. Oh, good. I love that, Kim. I really, really do. So welcome everyone to Marker 101. I'm glad that we can finally have this class. I know it's been forever in the making, and I thank you all so much for being patient for this class to become live. So I'm so excited for us to be able to begin. What I'm really, really excited about is the fact that we are going to talk about so much information tonight. So in the event that I'm going too fast, or in the event that I'm saying things that you don't understand, or you want me to slow down, I will be more than happy to do that. This class takes about an hour and a half generally. Sometimes it goes over, sometimes it's a little bit less, but generally it's about an hour and a half class. So I hope everybody got a snack and a little beverage, and you're excited about getting started with this class. So there are many of you that are in here that actually purchased style file markers from us, from us at Brutus Monroe for the class. And then there are many of you that are here that have your own markers and you decided to just get the notebook. So can we replay later to do? Absolutely, Fatima. 100% you can. So there are some of you in here that have your own markers. So because of that, we are going to start with the first portion of our class today, talking about the different types of markers that are out there. Now, I do not have every type of marker that exists in the world of alcohol markers. There are some that I have tried that I just threw away, and I will tell you which one that is once we get closer to talking about the markers. But there is, I do have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of markers that we are going to talk about today. So I'm excited to tell you guys about the different markers and which ones I think are best, and also which ones I think are best for the money. That is very important. The cost that is associated with alcohol markers is crazy. So I do too, Georgia. Those were the first ones that I purchased. So we're going to first go ahead and we're going to talk about all of the different types of markers. But right before we do that, we're going to review the book. Has everyone had a chance to print out their booklet? If you didn't, that's okay. You can print them later. Yes, me too, Georgia, when I first started. Absolutely. And I think they're most affordable to a lot of people. So that's why there are so many folks out there that have them. Okay, so first we're going to go through the book. And this book is going to be your alcohol marker Bible. This is basically, let's call this the first part, if you will, of your alcohol marker Bible. Because there are 3 parts to this class. There is the 102 class and there is the 103 class. The 103 class, we get very, very detailed. So in order to take 102 and 103, you must have completed 101, okay? So this is your booklet and this is what you are going to use. The beautiful thing about this class is that you get this booklet and you can print it as many times as you want. You don't have to worry about the file running out. You don't have to worry about it. You can print it as many times as you'd like. So if you want to redo certain portions of the book, you certainly can. So let's start with page 1, and we're just going to leaf through the booklet, and then I'm going to tell you about the different alcohol marker types. So the first page of the booklet, we are going to talk all about color theory when it comes to alcohol markers. What is very correct, Heidi? What's very important about color theory and markers is not necessarily the blending when you first start out. We have to understand what saturation looks like with colors. So I'm going to show you with red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, brown, and gray, how that works. If you took the class, the full class with the markers, you would have gotten a color out of each one of these categories. Then on page 2, we talk about layering and saturation. And that's what these two portions are here. And then we're going to talk about gradation of color. Gradation of color is very, very, very important when it comes to alcohol markers. And I'll explain to you what that means and why it's so important later on, obviously, in this class. Then we have light source. Light source is something that I get questioned about constantly. If you guys took the Aqua Pigment 101 class with me, the Aqua Pigment class, we talked a lot about light saturation. That was huge. Everyone wanted to know how they figure out where light's coming from, how they create spheres, all these different things, and we're going to talk about that tonight. Then we have a face map. Now, a lot of you guys are probably looking at this face map, and you're probably saying to yourself, well, Christopher, I didn't get a whole bunch of different flesh tones whenever I received my markers. That is okay. When we talk about a face map, we are not talking about the actual flesh tones of the face map. We are going to talk about how you are going to contour the face when you're doing it, and we're actually going to use a color that is nothing like what you would use for a face. And the reason for that is because when you are using skin tones to first start out and first figure out the face, it makes it very difficult. At least it had when I was teaching and I first started teaching. So the correct, Heidi. So that's why I have this large Gigunda face here for you. And then what you're going to do is later you are going to pick out what skin tones you want to use. Oh, and that leads me to my next thing. Just so you guys know, I have authorized a discount code just for you guys in the class. I am giving you 20% off of all of the Style File markers from right now until 12 o'clock midnight tomorrow night. So from now until 12 o'clock midnight Sunday, which is Sunday the 28th, you can get 20% off of any of the Style File markers. And I'm going to show you why I think the Style File markers are the most important. Hello, Jerry. And why I want you to buy those ones. So you're going to get 20% off of them, which, I mean, those markers are already, we're basically giving them away because of how inexpensive they are. Then we have 4 face maps. Again, we are going to talk about, yes, it is called, I'm sorry, Kim, thank you so much for, Christopher, duh. It is marker class, MARKERCLASS. Will get you 20% off of all of the Style File markers until midnight tomorrow night. And I promise you, when you see what we can do with those Style File markers tonight, you're going to want to grab as many as you can. So these face maps, we are also going to talk about shading with these. So the shading on these is going to be something that we're going to talk about. So this big face, we're going to talk about contouring. These faces, we're going to talk about shading. Now, shading and contouring, you may say, are the exact same thing. Well, kind of. Contouring is what is going to actually make the face look round. It's going to make the face appear to be 3D, whereas shading is going to be more about light sources. And again, we will talk all about that once we get to it. All right, next up, something that everyone always asks about. How do I color hair? Well, we're going to talk about it tonight. So this is what we call the hair map. And the hair map is so important because we are going to talk about how shading plays into all of these different beautiful lines that are in this hair map. We're also going to talk about parts that are in hair. You'll notice that this nice gal, let's call her Brenda. Brenda here, she has a part in her hair because parts in the hair are something that is so important to learn because they are difficult when you first start out, okay? Then we have our cheat sheet here. So this is going to be our hair cheat sheet. This is going to be where you're going to actually use hair colors. So you should have all been provided some sort of a yellow, and you were all provided some sort of a brown. We are going to talk about how you utilize those two items here, okay? And then last but certainly not least, we have a preview into the next course. So the Markers 102, which actually will go on sale tomorrow. And the great thing is, you guys want to know something really cool about Markers 102? It automatically gives you the download. We have fixed everything on our website. So from here on out, you will get the download automatically when you purchase it. I know it sounds like it's something so silly that should have been able to happen, but I can't tell you how much we struggled with making the system automatically send you the workbook. My goodness gracious, you would think it would be so easy. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the workbook? No, Kara, we are just going to be using a red. Let me go back here. We are just going to be using a red, an orange, a yellow, a green, a blue, a violet, a brown, and a gray. Okay? So those are the ones that you'll want to have handy. And if you signed up for the class with the full payment, or not the full payment, I guess I should say the full class, you should have gotten those markers. Just bear with me one moment. I'm walking over to grab a piece of white paper. Oh, here we go. Couldn't find my white paper. And of course, I always suggest using Not Your Mama's. It doesn't matter, Melissa. You can print it on any paper you would like to start out with, but you definitely want to try out the Not Your Mama's. The Not Your Mama's, we just got it back in stock. It is by far the best, in my opinion, but I think you will feel the same way too once you get your hands on it. It is the Not Your Mama's cardstock. It's super thick. It is super, super, super durable. And any of you guys that are in here that have already tried it out, you know how incredibly awesome that paper is. So we're gonna start out by talking about different types of markers. Now, the code will not work on Not Your Mama's, no, but the code will work on the markers, not the Not Your Mama's, unfortunately. All right, so I would recommend printing on at least 80 pound. Yeah, Spectrum Noir paper is great. It's absolutely fantastic. Yep. So we're gonna start actually by looking at the Spectrum Noir markers. So the way that Spectrum Noir markers are, these are the original Spectrum Noir markers. You may still have these ones, which actually have a square end to them. So you guys may have been introduced to these before. You may have seen these ones before. Well, they have been updated. So the new Spectrum Noir markers actually have how many sides? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A hexagon, right? Is that a hexagon? 6 sides? Round are shaped to them. So the round ones are the new ones, and the square ones are the original ones, okay? Both of them are going to have a fine tip and a broad tip, but the fine tip and broad tip have changed. So as you can see here, and I'll show you the flick test. The flick test is my favorite test for any marker that you get. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see exactly what's happening here. Let's shed some light on the subject. Okay, so the way that this is going to work, and hold on, let me grab what am I doing? Let me grab a darker shade so you guys can actually see here we go. Let me grab some darker shade so you guys can see what the heck's going on here. So, I'm actually almost in our... Oh, that's okay, Belinda. So, when you look at this nib is not a brush nib, okay? It's, you can see whenever you flick up, you can get kind of a nice flick to it, but you're not going to get that great grass, which is what I always test with my markers. Now, if you're very careful, you can get more of a grass look, but this is something that we will talk about in the marker 103 class. We talk about grass. There's also a broad tip to it. which is going to be like a saturation tip. As you can see, it's going to really saturate your paper, and it will give you like a really solid look to it. Now, with the new Spectrum Noirs, you are going to see the exact same thing. This nib is a little bit different. So you can see here that this fine nib on here does not have as much flicking potential. This new one does. Now, again, it's kind of tricky to get like that super refined flicking motion, which you will use for like grass and things like that, which again, we'll talk about in another class, but it's getting better. Okay, so, and these are probably these are the least expensive markers that I have on my table. So again, you're going to get a broad tip, which you will be able to see how you can saturate your paper. Okay, so those are Spectrum Noirs. Do a lot of you guys out there have Spectrum Noirs? I'm assuming you probably do, because it's probably the #1 best-selling marker out there because of the price point. Okay, next up we have the chameleon markers. Has anyone ever heard of chameleon markers? Oh, Nouveau, okay. Fatima, that's great. Okay, so the way the chameleon markers work is they are basically they're called color tones. So they do some color toning on their own. They have a brush nib. Some of them, the brush nib works a little bit better than others. You can see the flicking motion gets a lot more grass-like on this one. But the whole premise of the chameleon markers, which is this is not a marker that I would suggest for anyone that is just starting out. The reason being is these markers have a color chamber. So the way the color chamber works is you pull off this end, you pop this guy in here, and you let it sit for a couple of seconds. So you see, you're gonna let it sit straight up. Now what's happening is in this chamber, there is an agent that is kind of like, do you remember when you were little, the markers that you could use the white marker and go over top of the color markers and you would get lines and things like that? That's what these markers do. So it's basically eliminating the pigment, and depending on how long you keep it in there, it's going to give you a gradient. All the way through. So do you see how that gradient goes through here? So they're really, really cool, but the problem is they are incredibly difficult. And I will say this right off the bat, they are incredibly difficult to color with. Super incredibly difficult to color with. I have tried many a times to color and master coloring with them. I have a whole video on my YouTube channel showing you how to use them, but I will be the first one to admit to you that they are incredibly difficult to master. And very, oh, awesome, Penny. Well, you'll be able to use that discount code. And then Chameleon just came out with last year, and I'm gonna show you these too, because again, I feel like you need to make an educated decision, right? So they've also come out with what they call color tops, okay? So the way the color tops work is, wait a second. Does this have a base on? Oh yeah, that does how that works. Okay, so the color tops work in place of this chamber here. So do you see this chamber here? So what you do is you take this part off, okay? You grab your color top, you're gonna grab this piece out, and you're just gonna hit it just like you did with the color changing one. Now, the thing that's crazy about this, do you see how long this marker is now? This marker is about 45 foot long right now. So this is not, I mean, it's a great concept. Phenomenal concept, but there's a huge learning curve with these. And although the color tops are great, it's a very expensive learning curve as well. So what this does is that just interjected some of the cinnamon color into our Seville orange. And you'll see how we now get a gradient from the Seville orange, or from the cinnamon to the Seville orange. Do you see that? So also this is something that's really cool, but like I said before, the problem is there's a serious learning curve with these. Okay, so if that's something you want to invest in, more power to you. I highly suggest it because they are super duper cool, but like I said, they are not something that you'd want to, this is not how you'd start out your marker career, if that makes sense. It's not how you'd get started. At least it's not how I did. Okay, so next up we have the Winsor Newton brush marker. Now these brush markers were actually sent to me to do a review on YouTube. So I think I got 2 sets of them, yeah, because these are both the same. And again, these, I should have said, I'm sorry, the chameleon markers only have 1 nib, okay? They have 1 nib on them. So with the Winsor Newton, they have 2. So one side is again going to have your bold. Their bold nib leaves much to be desired though. Let's see if this bold nib is any better. No. See, the bold nib on both of them is a little bit rough. But I think that's because they're not. We're just starting, Gyps. So that's they're a little rough around the edges. But the brush on these, can you guys see the extent of the brush on this? I mean, you really get the true grass flick with this one. Let me actually move over here. I mean, at this point, we're just creating troll hair, right? But that flick on that is incredible. There's 164, I believe. Oh, your chameleons have 2 size nibs. Do mine too? And I just missed it. Oh, mine do. I'm sorry, I lied. Yes, this one has, it also has this nib on the end. I guess I forgot about it because it's really not anything to write home about. It's a very, very small nib. Very, very, very small. And it's very, it's kind of difficult to use because it's a very hard nib. Thank you for reminding me, Jerry. I haven't used these in so long. That's why I was a little rusty. Then last but not least, everyone's holy grail of markers, and those are the Copic markers. Now, I will say one thing about the Copic markers. They are fantastic. But I will say one other thing about the Copic markers. Do not refinance your house to get magic markers, because that's all they are. That's honestly all they are. It's a marker. And I say this all the time, and I say it time and time again. These are just markers. And that's why I worked so hard to find the style file markers, because I wanted you guys to be able to get a marker that you would not have to, like I said, refinance your house to get a set of markers. So now we're going to talk about the Copic markers. So I have the Copic Sketch. They are my favorites. One person's, oh, absolutely, Georgia. I sure will. I'll tell you all my favorites. It's actually funny. I have all my favorites in this bag right here. Those are the ones we're going to talk about next. So the thing about the Copic markers is they are great. They are fantastic. I have almost an entire set of them. Do I suggest you guys, oh, awesome, Jess. Do I suggest that you guys get the Copic markers? Absolutely not. I think that you are able to get these. If you can afford these, get them. Get a couple of them, but you don't need all of them. And, you know, the one thing that I wish is that I did not invest so much money in Copic markers, just because I found the style files, and the style files are so incredible. So let's go ahead and show you how the Copics work. So first and foremost, we have a chisel nib on the Copics. The chisel nib on the Copics is by far the most incredible chisel nib that you will find, except the comparable guys, which we're going to talk about in a second. The brush nib on the Copics is absolutely incredible. You can see here, once I'm doing the flick test again, which is the test I always do with every single marker that I get, you can do an incredible, incredible flicking motion with them. In a full set, I believe there's 185 or 182. So now I'm going to go in. This one is Mint Blue BO1. And again, I'm just doing the flicking motion, and you can see how beautifully they go together. So it's creating basically, again, troll hair. So, I love that. I love that. I have not tried them yet, Robin, but they're being sent to me. So we will talk about those in a future video. They actually just reached out to me the other day. They do. They do. Okay, so no, the Prismacolor markers are amazing. They're great, Melinda. Those are what I used in college. I just don't use the Prismacolors anymore because they change out their colors so often. That's why I didn't invest in a full set of those. Because of they change out their colors very, very often. They've changed out their colors probably like 35 times since I was in college. And I wanted to refill them and I couldn't. Oh, you sent them back, B. We'll have to try them. I'll have to try them. Got up, moved to. Oh, awesome, D. All right. All right, so those are the Copics. Now let's move on to the main event, which are my absolute favorite markers. Now, the reason I say this, before you hunt for me, the reason I say that Style are my favorite is they are incredibly comparable to the Copic markers. I'm actually going to show you the nib on them, and I can almost guarantee you're not going to be able to tell the difference. And they are 1/3 the price of a Copic marker. So let me show you my favorite markers of all time. And those are the Style markers. And here is my favorite set. So these are my favorite colors in the Style family. And these are the ones that I use all the time. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you why I think that these are so incredible. So let's go ahead and... oh, awesome, Kim. All right, so on the Style File, you will always know where the brush end is because of the black, thick ring that's on there. And with the Copics, it holds true because of their gray ring. But take a look at these two nibs. Almost identical. Now, obviously, this one comes out more, but that's not going to make a difference because it doesn't make it any more flexible. There's still the same amount of flexibility on it. It's just this one is out a whole lot more, if that makes sense. We do not sell the Style Files in sets currently, no. We used to, but folks were still getting them separately, so it didn't really make sense. And I also love that the Style File marker caps fit on top of one another, so I'm never losing a cap. So with the Style File, you of course will have a brush nib, a bullet nib as well. And look at how smooth this bullet nib is. I love it. And again, I tested so many markers to figure out when or where the, what I could do to have a really, really, really incredible experience with a marker that wasn't going to be extremely expensive. Sorry, Mimi, it's not buffering on my end yet. And then look at this brush nib. Oh my goodness. It is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely love this nib. Oh, it's just absolutely incredible. Incredible. The absolute closest to a Copic that I have ever found. And they don't wear out. I love that about them. Copics don't really wear out that much either. But let's take a look at this right next to this other Copic, or these Copics, because I want you to see how well they also play with Copics. They play very well with pretty much any alcohol marker that's out there on the market. They work really, really, really well. I actually discovered the Style File markers because I was at a art event, And I went over to their booth because everyone was over there hanging out and no one was carrying them in America yet. No, there was no American distributions anyone in America that was carrying them. So I said, well, wait a second. Let me take a look at these. Do I like them? Do I think they're good? And I fell in love with them. And that it was a match made in heaven. So I brought them to America. And we are the only retail store, meaning store you can walk into in the USA where you can buy them. And they're great. They're really, really great. So those are the different types of markers. We've gone over for the first portion of the class. We've gone over the Chameleon markers. We've gone over the Spectrum Noirs. We've gone over the Winsor and Newton. We've gone over the Copic sketch markers. How many style file colors do you carry? We carry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 14, I think, times. I want to say we carry 180 colors, 160 colors, I think. But we also carry the nibs, and we also carry, we're going to be carrying the refills soon. No, Melissa, because we actually now hired a freight forwarder. We're not letting any more problems happen. We refuse to allow any other issues to happen. So we hired on a freight forwarder, and we went way above and beyond with this new one. We never thought we would have to do that, but at our expense, we've brought on a lot of extra things to make sure it never happens again. Okay? All right, so next up, what you are going to do is you are going to take a look at page 1. Give me a thumbs up or an emoji or something letting me know that you are at page 1. And then we will get started on the first page. I'm just walking over to grab a couple more of my style file markers. Awesome. You're all there and ready? Okay. Page 1, yes. Page 1 after cover. Okay? All right. So I'm going to show you guys what to do with this section, and this is going to be your first free draw. So during class, there are certain times when you actually are going to have a moment to sit and chat amongst your peers or your classmates, and you are actually going to do your entire sheet. I'm going to show you how to do 2, and then I'm going to give you about 15 minutes to chat with one another and then finish out the rest of your sheet. Actually, it's probably going to be about 10 minutes, not 15, to finish out the rest of your sheet. Okay, so that's something that I do a couple of times during the class. Sometimes it's only 5 minutes, sometimes it's 10 minutes, so that you guys can kind of feel it out on your own, and again, chat with one another. So what you're going to do is you are going to take your red marker. It can be any variation of red. I have a wine red and a rose red. It does not matter which one you are using. Whatever red you have. It can even be a pink if you have a pink. Just has to be in the red family. So what I want you to do is when you pick out your red, okay, you're going to grab yourself a pen or a marker or just something that you have laying around. Doesn't have to be anything in particular. I'm walking over to grab a trusty dusty Cricut marker. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to write down the number of your marker. Now, if you are using a Copic, or you are using a style file, or you are using Winsor Newtons, or you are using Chameleon, whatever you're using, I want you to write down the number, okay? So I'm using 366. Okay? And then what you're gonna do is you are going to write here times 1, times 2, times 3. Zoom in a little bit so you guys can see that. Okay, does everybody got that? So I'm doing 366 times 1, 366 times 2, and 366 times 3. Is everybody picking up what I'm laying down? Has everybody got that? Actually, we'll do 2 of them. Got it? Okay. So what you're going to do is you are going to take your marker. Now, I would suggest using the chisel nib. You have to excuse the ambulances and police I am on. I'm at the store. So you are going to use the chisel nib of your marker. If you're using Style Files, you have a chisel nib. Pretty much any marker is going to have a chisel nib, with the exception of the chameleons. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in and you're going to fill in your block. Now, you don't have to stay in the lines. It does not matter. On this one, we are going to fill it in 1 time. Okay? You see that? This is regular typing paper, so you can see that went right through. Okay? And then on this one, we're going to go over it times 2. Hence the times 2. Oh, Penny. don't, that's not a police officer coming for you. All right, let me put this underneath of my sheet so it doesn't go through into my nice new table. And then this one we're gonna do times 3, okay? So we're gonna do one, 2, 3. Okay? And then we're going to let this dry. So we're going to let this dry, and by let this dry, we are going to continue down with the other ones. So my orange that I'm using is 214. Okay? So I'm going to go here and I'm going to write 214 times 1, 214 times 2, and 214 times 3. Okay? Again, very simple. Couldn't be easier. Grab your chisel nib. And we're going to start with 1. And I should have heat set my printing here. I used an inkjet printer, so you see a little bit of running. That's not going to hurt your marker or anything, but obviously when you're using the right ink, you won't see any of that running. You can use Marigold for orange, absolutely. And then times 2. Okay, and then for this one, times 3. You don't have to let it dry in between. Nope. There we go. All right, so now you should be able to see the difference in your gradation of color. Hello, welcome to class. So the way that this works is you are going to now go down with each color that you have. Of course, if there is a color that you are unsure of, or a color that doesn't mix with these just regular, because these are very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? These are very broad categories to fit into. So you want to make sure that you are choosing a color, okay? You're choosing a color that just kind of fits within this, okay? So now what you guys are going to do is you are going to do the rest of these guys. I'm going to give you guys about 10 minutes to do that, okay? And while I give you guys that 10 minutes, I'm going to run next door and grab myself a drink because I need to get another Diet Pepsi. So I hope you guys will all be okay for 10 minutes by yourselves. I'm sure you will talk amongst yourselves. I know you will. Excuse me. So I'm gonna go grab a Diet Pepsi because I'm parched and I'm here by myself. So go ahead and fill out the rest of the blocks on your sheet just like this one. Okay. And when I come back, we are going to move on to layering and saturation and gradation of color. Okay? Is everybody cool with that? You're probably all coloring away, which is why I'm not seeing any responses. Are you all coloring away? Are you having fun filling in your boxes? I know I always do. Awesome. Okay, so I will see you back here in about 10 minutes. So fill out your boxes, and I can't wait for you guys to show me screenshots. I want you to take pictures of your workbooks and send them over to me whenever we're done with the class. That's one of my favorite things to see is what your guys' notebooks look like, because everyone's notebook always looks a little bit different, which I think is really cool. So all right, I will see you in 10 minutes. Have fun. Okay, and I'm back. How is everyone doing? Good? Everyone doing good? So I came back a little bit early, so I am going to finish mine up because I'm assuming that you guys probably still have to finish yours up. Yes, I'm back. Oh, you're done. Great. Awesome. So I'm going to do mine real quick here. So I'm going to do 164 for my yellow. Oh, that's the door. Yeah. Yep, that's the door. Unless it dinged. I don't know if it dinged or not. If you heard a ding, like a cha-ching ding, that was a sale. Isn't it great? I could technically play music on this one because this is a private video, so we wouldn't get in trouble. I don't think. I don't know how that works though. I think I'd probably still get in trouble even though this is a private video. Probably. I could probably play royalty-free music though. That would probably work. All right, and for my green, we're gonna use 668, which is one of my favorites as well. Because I'm using all of my basics that I love. You should be able to click the bell, and it should notify you. I love how saturated the last box gets. I would say light pressure, light to medium. Oh, awesome, Georgia. Okay. And then I'm going to use 518 for my blue. I don't know, Ivy. It may have just been that you were, it might just be that you were accidentally added to the list. So I apologize if you were. I apologize if you were added to the list. You may have just been added inadvertently. That's all. Go get yourself some wine. That's okay, Ivy. No biggie. 518 is my absolute favorite blue that we have. Well, in the lighter blue. Yeah, the design team all got notified. Yep. I put all the design team on the list. All right, so now we're gonna do 3 for the blue. And I love how saturated the last one gets. I know I said that before, but it's just my favorite. Okay. Yes, we're certainly not going to kick you out, Ivy, that's for sure. Okay, and for my violet, I'm going to use Deep Violet, which is my favorite violet that we have. So that's 466 if anyone's following along with the markers that I'm using. Yes, the next couple of months of stencils are really, really fun. I think they're going to be pretty similar, Kim. I don't know that they're going to be identical, but they're going to be pretty darn similar. Okay. And then for the brown, my favorite brown that I use very, very often is called Chocolate, which is HO4. Again, if you guys are following along. Do you see Jerry trying to get real sneaky? All I could say is it's a real good one, Jerry. It goes with the inspiration box. That's okay. It's completely up to you. Whatever you want to use or whatever you have, it does not matter. It's just within that color family. Okay. All right, and then last but certainly not least, we are going to do gray. And my favorite gray, well, one of my favorite grays, because grays are the most of what we have. Grays are what we have the most of, is WG4, and WG just means warm gray. I can tell you the stamp set is called Birds of a Feather, but that's all I can tell you. Oh, that's okay, Belinda. You can come back and watch it all back. That's the great thing about the way the class works. I tend to like the warm grays more than I like the cool grays. But that's just personal preference. You will find which gray family you like the best. But the warm grays play very, very well with the with adding them to colors, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, so there is my completed sheet. The really cool thing about this color chart that you have now is you can really truly see how you are going to be able to get a gradation from just, oh, that's completely fine, Amanda. Absolutely. The 80 pound. Thank you, Melissa. So the great thing about the way that this works, or the way that that this is going to show up, is that, oh, let me zoom out a little bit. Thank you to everyone that's buying themselves some markers with the sale. It's a great sale. So the great thing about the way that this turns out here is that you are able to actually see now what you can do with just a simple color, right? Isn't that cool? So with just one color, my color blue is 518. It's called Cerulean Blue. Okay? So what I think is really cool about this is you can utilize this to actually go ahead and, yes, they're on sale for the class, Ivy. You can see what you can do with just one simple color. Isn't that cool? I think that's super cool. Yes, that would be why, Kim. Because you see how my 2 and 3 are pretty similar? That's why. So, like, if you were to look at, so if I were to use, like, see this heavyweight paper or heavier weight paper, this is the regular everyday alabaster. If I were to take this and just go over one time, and then go over this one 2 times, and then go over this one 3 times. Do you see how different all of those are? And that's because of the fact that this paper is the papers that we have, the alabaster as well as the Nacho Mamas, was made to take on a lot of color. A lot of color. So that's why. Yep, it just depends on the paper you're using. The paper generally is going to be a big proponent of how different everything is going to look. Okay? All right. So that is the first one. Now we are going to talk about layering and saturation. Okay, so everyone please turn to your next page, which is layering and saturation. Okay. So layering and saturation is really cool because it's going to be very different from what we did with these colors. Okay. So everyone should have gotten a gray or a brown. And you are going to grab a gray or a brown. And then you're going to grab any other color that you have. I'm going to grab bronze green because it's one of my favorite greens. So I'm going to grab bronze green and I'm going to grab warm gray. Okay? And we're going to talk about layering and saturation. All right? So right here, and let me write these down. We're going to start with 668, okay, which is bronze green. So whatever color you want, you can use whatever color you would like. I'm using a green. Probably one of the lighter colors, though. We'll make this a little bit easier. Okay. So I'm going to grab this bronze green, and I'm going to go from this block over to this block. And this just makes it a little bit easier. Okay. Then you're also going to go over from this block to this block. Just one time is all you need. Okay? That's okay, Gail. And then you're going to grab your brown or your gray. Here I'm using warm gray. So WG4. And you are going to fill in each one of these just like we did before. So 3 times. So this one is 1. This one is going to be 2 times. And then this one's going to be 3 times. Okay. So browns and grays work very interestingly, in the alcohol marker world. So let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see again. So the cool thing about layering and saturation is that we now were able to use 2 markers, the green, which whatever color you used is fine, and a gray or a brown. And we were able to change the look and the saturation of this color by using just two markers. Again, the green and the gray. And this is very important for folks that are first starting out, because the number one question that I always see is, Christopher, I need markers that match, meaning I need 3 greens, I need 3 yellows, I need 3 oranges, I need 3 purples. What colors do I get? I always say, get yourself a gray or a brown, a lighter gray or a lighter brown, and a color that you really love. And then what you can see is how you can change those colors so easily by simply using that other color. Isn't that cool? I think it's super cool. Okay, so now over here, we are going to use a brown and a gray. Okay, so you're gonna grab a brown and a gray. Everyone should have gotten a brown and a gray. If not, if you're at home and you're using your own markers, grab a brown and a gray. I'm using 804, which is chocolate, and WG4, which is my gray. And I'm gonna show you how cool this is going to turn out. So I'm gonna start with WG4 over here. And don't worry about staying in the lines. Okay. You don't have to stay in the lines. It's real easy. Just kind of go around your circle here. Does not have to be perfect. I'm just going to use this this particular booklet as my cheat sheet for the next time I teach this class, because I lost my other one, so I had to reteach myself the class before I taught you guys. Okay, just make sure it's saturated. Doesn't have to be super saturated, but you can see we're saturated there, right? Then I'm gonna grab my brown, and you would think these two wouldn't play together in the sandbox very well, right? Awesome, Jerry. I love when you guys come to the Christopher Academy. I really do. I certainly do. (800/426). Okay, I'm gonna have to look at what those colors were. I'm not sure what colors those were. All right. So now what we've done is we have taken the 804, which is the brown, and we've taken the WG4, which is the gray, and you can see now how if you use a darker tone color, meaning the chocolate, which is 804, over top of the WG4, something very interesting happened here. So you would think that these two would do the same thing that happened here, but that is not the same thing when you are using browns and grays. Generally, depending on the tone of gray, the brown will always overcome the gray. So isn't that cool how these look like? Oh, it just might have been a little bit too dark, Heidi. That's okay. That the brown, the gray looks like it's behind the brown, right? And I actually colored over top of the gray. So isn't that cool? I think that's really cool, because normally that would be either way. Burnt sienna. Oh, okay. Did you have a gray, Heidi, by any chance? Or a blender or a gray? Okay, so now we're gonna do gradation of color, which is also something that is super, super important. So you can see these lines down here. Do you see where these lines are? Okay, So what you're going to do is you're going to take whatever color you would like, whatever one you would like, whatever crayon that you have in the box. I am going to use 552. Okay? That's okay, Kim. No problem. So I'm going to use 552. So I'm going to do 552, 552, 552. Okay? And what I do is I like to separate this out. So I'll just draw a quick little line down there and a quick little line down here. You don't have to do it this way. It's completely up to you. If you can eyeball this, that's fine, but I always draw the little line at the end of here just to give me a little bit of a cheat. It helps a little bit. And then this again, we're going to do times 1, times 2, times 3. Okay? And I'm going to show you what this means. Are you all with me still? Oh, that's okay, Heidi. The NGO would have worked too. So you might just want to try it again. Just print out this page again and just try it with the NGO. That should be perfect. Because that's the neutral gray 0. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take my 552, which is cobalt blue, another one of my favorites. And I'm going to start here. So this is where my number 1 starts. And I'm going to go all the way down. And I keep swerving because there's markers over here that I keep thinking I'm going to hit with my hand. Okay, so we did 1 stroke all the way down this way. Then times 2, we go all the way down this way. To the end, okay? And then we're going to do times 3 on this last one. And the way that your alcohol markers should work, whether you're using style files or any other alcohol marker, because it's just the nature of them, you are going to see a natural gradient all the way down. Isn't that cool? Uh-oh, why are you getting nervous, Jerry? Don't get nervous. It's all just paper. You can print it again. If there's an issue, just print it again. Okay. So now you can see the natural progression of a gradation of color. Okay? So again, we have the times 1, the times 2. It's similar to the thing we did on the first page, Melinda, but on the first page, it's kind of difficult to see the actual gradation of it. Yeah, that'll work, Dee. Whereas this one, you can see how it progresses all the way down. Does that make sense? It helps you with doing more of a gradient stripe. So the first page was just, you'll notice the first page was just preparing you for the second page. That's how I write all of my classes, so that the things that we do before are going to make sense to the things that we do later. So I hope that helped. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. You can watch this class 1,000,000 times over if you want to. That's the great thing about it being being recorded for you. All right, so next we are going to move on to light source, which is another big one that I get questions about. How the heck do I figure out light source? And we're going to talk about that today. Okay? Let me know when everybody has been moved over to the light source page. That's funny, Jerry. Yes, light source is a tricky one, but I'm going to teach you guys a really easy trick. Okay? It's probably the easiest trick that I'm going to teach you today. Okay, so this is a little trick that I taught myself because I was always having issues when I was in art school figuring out how to do light source. Okay, so light source was always something that was incredibly difficult to me. And I taught myself a little trick that I think is going to be something that will help you guys out a lot too. And I hope it helps you guys out a lot because this is something that, oh my goodness, I love that you put a pumpkin, Jenny. After my own heart. So, what do we do when we see the sun? Can anybody shout out or, well, not shout out because I can't hear you guys, but what do you normally do when you see the sun? Any takers? What do you do when you see the sun? That's one way. Squint, that's another thing. Squint, yes. Get a sunburn, that's good, Heidi. Squint, yes. Put on sunglasses, that's a good one too. Not quite the answer I was looking for, but when I see the sun, I always smile. So all you're going to think of is when you see the sun, you smile. So not necessarily looking directly into the sun, but when you see the sun outside, I generally smile. So I taught myself this trick because this is the way that I remember how to create the light source. So what you'll see here is this little arrow, or this kind of dunce cap that's here. This is where the sun is coming from, okay? So this looks like the sun, right? So the sun is coming down. So our circle, and I'm gonna let you guys do this one by yourself, and I'm gonna do one with you. This circle, when we see the sun, and I'm gonna use my brush nib for this one. You can use your chisel nib, whatever you're comfortable with. I always smile. So when we smile, we are going to draw a smile, okay? And your smile can be as big as my smile is or smaller. It's completely up to you. This does take some practice. And I'm going to use my chisel nib to kind of color that part in. So we are smiling, right? So now what you're going to do is you are just going to continue to smile all the way up. So just keep on smiling. 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 And just keep on making your smile smaller and smaller until you have just a tiny little spot here. Okay? And then we're going to take our brush end and we're just going to lightly go on upwards here. And that is how we're going to get our smile. So again, we're going to go in and we're going to smile again. And the smile at the bottom, you want to do a couple of times because you're going to see a natural progression of color. And you're just going to have to keep on practicing this. Okay? Yeah, leprechaun beard and nose. Yep. And then you're going to go a little bit lighter until you get to the center. Now, what I would also do is you can grab a brown or a gray. I'm going to grab my gray. And this is all kind of experimenting to figure out how you are going to get light source the best for you. Okay? So now I'm going to go in with my gray. I'm going to start down here towards the bottom. And again, it's all about smiling. And the thinnest smile is going to be up here at the top because the light is hitting right here. Okay? Then you're going to go back in with your orange or whatever color you chose. And you're just going to keep on smiling. So can you see what's happening to mine here? And of course, you're probably going to want to end up getting some additional colors to make sure that your smile just keeps on smiling. But now you can see that your light source is coming from here, and it's starting to look like an oval. Do you see how it's becoming three-dimensional? And again, this is not something, and I don't want you guys to beat yourself up over it if it's not happening right away for you, because this is something that takes a little while, okay? It's gonna take a little while, and it's gonna keep on smiling and smiling and smiling and just working at it and working at it. You can use a blender, absolutely, Melinda. I don't know that everybody received a blender. I don't know that everyone did, but you can use a blender to blend in these areas, absolutely. You can use a blender. It's completely up to you. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with. And then sometimes I will go in with like my brown and just hit the edges here. Now we go into a lot more detail of shading with lighting in the 102 class, where we can add in little gradation striations like this. I don't want you to necessarily try these yet, but it's kind of like doing the grass. But again, we'll go over all of this in 102. We do a lot more of that. And again, if you don't want to do the complete circles, you can also just flick out. And there's so many different techniques for this, and we'll go over a lot of them. Okay. 102 is right when I get back from New York. You sure do, Melinda. But what I always do, and what I always suggest in all of the classes that I teach on any type of marker, any type of alcohol markers, or even if you're using like a aqua pigment or a watercolor, you are always going to set where the sun is. So anytime that I practice, if I have a stamped image, I always do a little arrow to show where the sun's going to be. I always use gray or brown. Yes, Kim. Or a darker color in that family. Oh, awesome, Georgia. Yeah, you probably did. That's okay, Melissa. There's a second one for a reason. And like I said, in the 102 class, there are no markers included, but we go much, much more in depth for shading. Okay? Is that making sense, everybody? Because you are going to, you're going to go ahead and do your second one now. Yes, Jerry, I think we just opened up 50 spaces. And that workbook comes automatically to you. We're going to talk about that on Monday. Okay, so now what you guys are going to do is the light now is coming. I believe you got 10 markers, I think. 10 or 8 markers. I think it was 10. So the light is coming from this direction. Yes, Kim. And then you're going to go back over it with another stroke. Yep. Oh, you got 12. Thanks, Heidi. Heidi's been the best sous chef, the best teacher's assistant tonight. You really have. All right. So now you're going to go ahead and do this one. I'm going to give you guys probably about 5 minutes to do that one, because we still have, we're still going to talk about hair and doing a face map. The secondary face map and the secondary hair map you guys do on your own. I don't go over that with you. That's kind of your practice sheets. And then we're going to do the dresses. So go ahead and color your circle in, and I will be right back. Unfortunately, I don't have any type of music to play for you. So sing amongst yourselves And that's okay, Amanda. You're not we're not turning anything in for a grade. And that's why you can print this as many times as you would like, because you can keep practicing and practicing and practicing. So do your second one. I'll be back in about 5 minutes, and we will go from there. I'm just going to make sure that all of the markers are updated for you guys if you want to grab them in the sale. So I will be right back, and I'm actually going to write down here what that sale code is so you guys have it. It's an easy one, but if you guys can actually read my handwriting, but it says marker class. That will get you 20% off of all the Style File products until tomorrow at midnight for being in this class. And I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. How is everyone doing? That's okay, Steve. You can watch it over and over again. Yeah, it depends on what type of a gray you're using, Kim. Okay, so now let's move on to the face. That's okay, Jackie. You guys just gotta practice. You just gotta practice. That's all there is to it. Just practice, 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 practice. And you'll get it, I promise you. Just practice. They do, yep. You get an A in my book, absolutely. 100%. Okay, so now I want everyone to grab a blue marker. Yes, I said a blue marker. I know it's going to sound crazy. Correct. You can't be logged in, Heidi, but it still will give you points because it recognizes your name. Oh, okay, I'll help. Grab yourself a blue. I know it's going to sound crazy, but this is the way that we're going to be able to talk about face mapping. Yep, I wasn't going to tell you guys about that until next week, but it recognizes your name and it still gives you points. So you get points even when you're not getting points, or you're using your points, if that makes sense. Because it sounds kind of crazy, I know. All right, so what you're going to do is we're going to talk about how the face works and how we contour a face when we're using alcohol markers. So there are some key points on a face that I want you guys to pay attention to. So the key points are going to be the face is broken down into a T. Okay, so there is the T. All right, so you don't have to draw a T. It doesn't matter. You don't have to, but this is just the easiest way that I learned how to do it. So the way the contouring is going to work when using alcohol markers is going to be very similar to contouring with makeup. So we're going to bring some blue down from this direction. Okay, some blue down from this direction. You're going to stop right above the eyebrows. And then we're going to bring some blue down from this direction. Okay? And what this means is you are always going to start with your lightest color on the face first. And then when you're doing the shading or the contouring, you're going to bring in your darker color. Now, obviously, you're not going to use a blue unless you're doing an avatar. But this is how you do your shading on the forehead. Okay? And I wanted you to use blue so you could see exactly what that means. Okay? Then you are always going to shade from the cheekbones down. The reason we drew the T on here is because the cheekbones you generally start in the center of the T. So do you see right here? So this is where we're going to add some more of those, the darker, and again, it doesn't have to be darker. It can be like a blusher that you use here, or a little rouge. So that is where you are going to have your darker shades that come in from the cheeks. Okay? Then you also are going to have some that comes up from the chin. So it's going to come up from the center here and on out. And this is going to start looking like a makeup map for you. Okay? You aren't able to use Brutus Box and a Sail, D. Unfortunately, you can't use both. Or else I'd be living under a bridge if I let you use both. If I let you use both, I'd be living under a bridge. We can't let you use the discount as well as the Brutus Box. Unfortunately, it won't allow you to do that. Or else I wouldn't be able to keep the lights on. Because that's a super, super discount. Okay, and then what you're going to do is when you bring your lighter color in, your lighter colors are going to be what fills in the rest of the areas. So I'm using a lighter blue. Yeah, it has to be full price to use the Brutus Box. So you'll see now, obviously this is not the colors that you would necessarily use because I'm using blue. But just to give you the general idea, you would fill in with your lighter colors, and your lighter colors are what will start to contour the face. You can use your Brutus Box on the next class, absolutely. Yeah, call Heather on Monday, D, she can help you. I would use the Brutus Box on the next class, absolutely. Okay? And then your very, 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 very lightest color, which I'm going to use green because I don't have a lighter blue over here. So she's going to look real crazy, is going to be in the center here. The nose, because the nose is furthest towards us, as well as the brow and the top of the eye, are what are going to be the lightest. Okay? So this is the face map. essentially. So the face map, this is just going to show you where the darkest areas, the mid-tone areas, and the lightest areas of the face should be when you're coloring it. Okay? Does everybody get that? And then I've given you another page, which is this page. It's the next page in your booklet that you guys are going to experiment with. So if you want to experiment with these colors again on these faces, you can, but I would suggest using some of your flesh colors. If you have flesh colors, if you don't, of course you can order them from us. We have a million awesome flesh colors. You'll be able to use them on these faces. Okay, I'm waiting, Heidi. What's up? What is up? And then you're going to place your favorite skin tones over here. But what I usually do is I will take, yes, absolutely, Kim. It's going to be just like you would see if somebody, oh, sorry. It's going to be just like if you would, when you see someone contouring a face, they're going to start with the foundation. Or, you know, obviously with the concealer, depending on how you contour. So I'm going to do a little key over here to help you out. You can put your skin tones over here if you would like. I'm going to put what my colors equal. And again, in 102, we go over the face a lot more, okay? 101 is just the absolute basics. When you put your facial mask on, see, that's probably exactly what the face is doing. It's hitting the certain areas in certain ways, if that makes sense, Jerry. Okay, so this is dark contour. This is light contour. And then this is lightest contour. Or this can also be natural base color. You are going to figure out first where your light is coming from, Kim. Yes, I do that in 102, Gyps. 102 is when we start talking about actual skin colors. Yes, Kim. And in 102, we actually talk about flowers. So if you want to learn more about flowers or more about like a stamped image, 102 is definitely going to be something you're going to want to take because we talk a lot about flowers. We actually color a rose in 102. And it's actually one of the Brutus Monroe one of the Brutus Monroe roses that we color. Okay? All right, so does everybody have that so far? So we can move on to hair. Thumbs up, good. All right. Let's move on to the hair map. Hair was one of my favorite things to learn how to color. Absolute favorite things. And again, we are going to use crazy colors again. Because crazy colors... no, face shading, this is what the face shading was. And then, so basically in 101, you are getting the basics. That's why it's 101, the absolute basics of it. So this right here is how you will shade the face. You are going to practice these key elements on these pieces here. And then in 102, we get very detailed into shading the face. We can't get super detailed into 101 on shading the face or we would be here for 6 hours. All the classes have to be broken down. The big was what, I'm sorry? Contouring. Yes, the big one is contouring. So contouring and shading is going to be almost identical. So you are going to do the shading on this one, but you'll notice that on 102, the faces, no, it will go live tomorrow, Georgia. On 102, you're gonna see this gal again. You are going to see her again in 102, but she looks a little different, and you'll see why in 102. You will see why. Yeah, I'll come live on tomorrow, Georgia, to tell you guys about 102. Okay, so let's now talk about hair, right? Let's talk about hair. So I'm going to use the same 3 colors to demonstrate how I do hair. Oh well, I'll have to put the workbook in the design team page so you guys can play around with it. I think that'll be fun. Brenda. Yes, this is Brenda. Oh, sorry. No, this is Brenda. This one, her name is Olivia. This is Olivia. This is Olivia, and this is Brenda. These are actually Chuck's illustrations. Chuck did these for me. Chuck is so talented. Okay, so let's grab our markers again. So we have... Oh, I just heard the heat kicked on in the store. I thought it was rain outside. I was like, oh my goodness, is it raining? So we are going to start with the darkest. So the darkest is going to be the dark blue. Then we have midtones. I want to be on design team. Awesome, D, I love it. Then we have they get all the perks because they are the ones that represent the brand. Okay, then we have, whoops, my goodness, what am I doing? Then we have the green, which is the lightest, okay? So the way we'll do these is this is gonna be darkest / shadow. This one will be considered mid-tone. And this one is lightest / sunlight. Okay. Yes, they sure do. They work hard. They work hard for the workbooks or the perks. They don't even know what the newest perk is that's coming. I haven't told any of them yet. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the darkest. So the darkest shades naturally are going to be where your lines are in the hair. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do my dark blue here, dark blue here, 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 and here. Now this is gonna depend on if it's a blonde or a brunette. Again, we're gonna go over blondes and brunettes. We're not necessarily gonna say who has more fun. The question is still out there. The jury is out. But we will talk about that in 102. Oh, sorry, Jackie. It says lightest or sunlight. I know sometimes my handwriting can get kind of messy. All right, so there's our darkest points. Oh, and redheads, Gyps. I'm sorry. And redheads. I've never taught about redheads, but I would love to. I've colored red hair before. And then we are going to go in and we are going to talk about the root area as well. So we're just going to fan out a little bit in the root area. Most folks have a little bit of darker in the root area. Some have lighter, but I always tend to shade with the darker at the root area. It's completely up to personal preference. Everyone does it a little bit differently. Then we are going to go in with our lighter blue or lighter shade, whatever lighter shade you're using. And we are just going to follow in right behind, but you're going to do these strokes a little bit larger. So right behind where we did the darker blue, okay? And there's no real right or wrong way to do this because it all kind of blends itself together in the end, and you'll see what I mean. And again, everybody colors hair a little bit differently. This is just the way that I learned when I was in art school. It's completely up to you. Okay, so there we have that now. Oh, she's kind of looking like a comic book character, isn't she? And then we're going to go in with our green, which would be where the lightest areas are. So that's basically going to be where we fill in. I kind of want this hair coloration. I think it's cool. This hair color combo. It's just very comic booky. And these tones are going to be what you will use within your colors. Yeah, isn't that cool? And I love the way this coloration is kind of lending itself to that too. Now, one important tip to note is that when you're doing this, you are going to use, oh yeah, I could have used pink and purple. You are going to use different gradations in your color family. So if you're doing a blonde, you would want to use something like 172 for your darkest. Then I would use like 164 for my midtone, and I'll write these down. Correct. Yep, Kim. And I'll show you how these guys kind of flow together. Then we go to 164 and then 156. So this is how I would do like a blonder look. Do you see how these ones meld together really well? Of course, your darkest tone you want to have ready to go. So you can see how these kind of the striations. Yep, it'll be sent to you next week, Robin. I have a meeting with Heather actually on Monday about all of those that have signed up. So we have the 172, 164, and 156. These are my favorite. That's true, Heidi. That is true. That truer words have not been spoken. So these are one of my favorite color combos for blonde. So it's 172, 164. Correct, Melinda. Woo! Oh my goodness, I'm so excited that you said that, Melinda. I'm so excited that you learned that. Oh, that makes me feel so good. Yes, you are 100% correct, Melinda. 100%. Woohoo! Oh, that makes me so excited. See, you got that from before when we were talking about it, and that's why we structured the class the way that we did. So you can use your browns and grays to add teacher's pet, to do lights and darks within what you are actually creating. So what your homework is going to be is you are going to take your hair that you got here on this next page. You'll notice that it is still, what did I say her name was? No, I already lost it. What her name is, you're going to use her hair. I love that, Melinda. You're going to use her hair here. So you can see it's her head, but just her hair. Oh, yes, homework, Petty. Brenda. That's it. Brenda and Olivia. I need to write that down so I remember. So Brenda, you have her hair, but that's it. So you're going to use her hair, and you are going to create your own ending with those colors. So now, last but not least, I knew that this was going to turn into almost a 2-hour class because I just love hanging out with you guys. That's really the whole thing. I love hanging out with you guys. I really do. So this is the part of the class where I get to go kind of crazy and I get to show you how I would color this dress. So I'm going to be using, again, the shades 164, 156, and 172. And I'm going to show you something that you are going to learn in 102. So again, we are going to start with, and I'm just going to kind of not necessarily speed through this, but I'm going to go through and show you what you're going to learn in 102. So I'm going to start with the darkest shade here because the darkest is going to be what will be at the waistline here. And this is just a sneak peek of what you are going to learn in 102. We start talking about clothing. And this is not a part that you really need to pay attention to, so don't worry. I'm just showing you what you're going to learn in 102. So just kind of sit back and relax. This is the end of the class, but I'm going to show you, and this is where I get to actually color and not teach color. I'm going to actually color this for you the way that I would naturally color this. And this is going to be something that you will learn in your next class if you decide to take 102 with me. I hope that all of you had a really, really good time in 101. I know that I had a really good time with all of you. I think that it's so much fun being able to teach you guys. It's so much different than the regular YouTube kind of environment. So it makes it really, really fun to be able to teach and tell you guys why I love coloring and why if Brenda is outside with Olivia having coffee and she's a brunette, how would you show the shine? Great question, Kim. So if she is a brunette, you are going to want to start with your darkest shades and you're going to work down to almost like a caramel brown. I hope that makes sense. I love how she gave me a story, though. I just saw them having coffee in my mind. I did. Thank you, Kim. I'm so glad you liked it. I hope you all liked it. I hope you had a good time. I always have such a good time teaching these classes because I don't get to teach as often as I would like anymore. But it's a lot of fun. I love teaching. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I hope you guys take advantage of that discount tonight. Grab yourself some markers. This was one of my favorite classes when I was in art school, was working with alcohol markers, which is why I love teaching this class so much, because learning about how all alcohol markers work, and actually my favorite class, if you can believe it, when I was in college was actually the the interior design class, because that's where, oddly enough, we really learned how to use alcohol markers. We did not learn how to use alcohol markers nearly as much in my regular everyday classes. We learned how to use them a lot more. Oh, hi, Trix. Michael, I didn't know you were here. He's quiet, silent. But yeah, we learned a lot more how to use the alcohol markers in the whatchamacallit classes, the interior design classes, because I went to school for visual communication. So we got a little bit of everything, which was awesome. Gail, I'm sure we could whip one up for you. This dress was actually illustrated just to illustrate pleating, because pleating is one of the most difficult things to color to make look natural. Oh, thank you, Jackie. Thank you. I appreciate every one of you. I really do. Thank you so much for being patient as we waited and waited for the markers to come in. Michael can attest to the fact that we thought the class was never going to happen because of how crazy everything was with the markers. Oh, every time they came in, it was another letdown. Oh, awesome, Kim. Yeah, Michael can help you out with that. So we will talk about how to color a dress just like this in 102. I think we're going to have a lot of fun in 102. Got jacuzzi time. Woohoo! Have fun, D. Have some fun. All right. And there we go. So just a quick lickety split. That is what the dress looks like if I colored it in 5 minutes, which is what I just did. I'm actually going to tell you about my favorite colors tomorrow, Heidi, because the sale ends at midnight tomorrow. But I can tell you them real quick right now if you'd like, because I have them all out here on my desk. I have the colors I use the most often. But I can tell you now if you guys are thinking about grabbing markers tonight. Thank you, Dawn. Okay, so my very first one is actually, I'm going to write them all down here so that you can do a screen grab. I think that'll be a little bit easier. So if you want to take a screenshot, it'll make it easier for you to grab the ones that you want. When you are flicking the bottom of the dress, you have a lot of open spaces. What you're going to do, and I will share this with you, but we will talk a lot more about this in 102, is you're going to hold your marker there for a little bit longer. Do you see? So you hold it and flick it. Do you see how that's filling in that area? Hold and flick, hold and flick, hold and flick, hold and flick. Do you see how that's adding more color down there? It's just like an alcohol solution. It's not straight up alcohol, no. It's an alcohol solution. All right, let me grab a marker here and I'll write down my favorites. So, 172, which is marigold. 214, which is French vermilion. 466, which is deep violet. 518, which is cerulean blue. 552, which is cobalt blue. 210, which is potato brown, which I think is hilarious. 164, which is lemon yellow. 216, which is just straight up orange. Thank you, Gail. 668, which is bronze green. 372, wine red. 804, chocolate. 164, lemon. Oh, we already did 164. I have two of them out here. Whoopsies. 366, which is rose red, which is also one of my favorite movies. 452, which is rose pink. WG4, my absolute favorite gray. Make sure to grab that gray if nothing else. 420, which is pastel pink. 206, which is rose beige. 900, which is black. You have to grab yourself a black because you will use it to fill things in. They do. I will post the color chart tomorrow for you. Just remind me when I'm live. 216, which is orange, and 312, which is fruit pink, and then 000, which is the blender. You definitely want a blender as well. Got them all. Good, Gyps. You must have talked to Heather, because Heather does not let many folks get off the phone without talking about a style file marker, because she completely switched and she will never go back. She loves. That was actually the first thing she bought when she started working at Brutus Monroe. She bought an entire set of style file markers. Whoops, and 156 pastel yellow. I almost forgot. It was sitting over here to the side. She got lost. 156. All right, everybody. So thank you all. The best way to contact me privately, unfortunately, is going to be through the info page. So if you send an email through the info page, it will get sent over to me. If it's something that's super privately, you can send it to Christopher@BrutusMonroe.com. That is my email. But I unfortunately get about 1,000 emails a day. And that's not even kidding. I legitimately get 1,000 emails a day. So whether or not I will be able to get back to you with that email is tough. If you send it to info, someone on the team will make sure that I get that message. But you can always send an email to Christopher@BrutusMonroe.com. It's just, I don't know when exactly I'll be able to get back to you. But if you send it to info, someone will always get it to me. Or you can always, right, Kim? Or you can also just send me a letter too. If you send a letter to Christopher at the store address, which is on the website, that's a really great way to get a hold of me. Thank you, Heidi. If you send it to the store, I will be on tomorrow. You can show it to by showing it on the Brutus or No fan club page. Yes, Kathy, a lot of the markers are showing sold out, probably because there's a lot of you guys that ordered them while we were live. So that might be why. But we'll get a restock in, don't worry. That's why. Because I while you were live, I think we got like 22 orders while I was live. So while I was teaching the class, so that might be why. Yep, there's the fan club page. Fan club page. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you for coming to this class. I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. I'll see you guys plus all the rest of our friends, because not everyone obviously is here tonight. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Thank you for being a part of my life. Remember to create something every day, whether that is your own really fun and really funky dress or your own ending. I thank you all so much for being a part of my life. I love you all to pieces. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight in my class, and I cannot wait to hang out with you guys soon.